Welcome to the Pure Prison Podcast, a Society First production. My name is Shai Hillman. Before we begin, we want to give an introduction of our goals, and that is to provide a platform that identifies both the problem and the solutions to the criminal justice system. The purpose behind Pure Prison Podcast is to give a voice not only to those who have been impacted by the system, but also to those who are positively impacting the system. Society First wants to ensure that all guests feel free to express their thoughts and beliefs. With that being said, not all views and beliefs of those interviewed are necessarily the views of Society First. With that, we hope that we will inspire you to get involved, for it's only together that we will make a difference. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome back to Pure Prison. I am so glad to have you in the studio. As you know, there is an important rally coming up in Orlando on June 3rd. I now have Alexandra Barry. She is with Siblings of Murdered Siblings. And I also have Keith Harris from the Florida Justice League. They are going to come into the studio and explain to us exactly what this rally is about, and we hope that you are all there. So go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and bring you in. Alexandria, can you say hello? Just tell us a little bit about yourself and what's going on. And then Keith, if you'll do the same.
Sure, no problem.
Go right ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm Alexandra Barry with Siblings of Murdered Siblings, and I am here with Mr. Harris, and we're both holding a rally on June 3rd and holding the state accountable with the murder of Timothy Thomas. That's one of the many things that we're doing this for. Mr. Thomas, I'll have Mr. Harris go more elaborate of what happened with him. But we want to ask for the removal of Mark Inch and Ricky Dixon and all involved with the falsifying of records, the cover-ups, the use of force deaths, the torture, the abuse, everything that's been going on in our state for far too long. So with that, I will leave it off to Mr. Harris.
Awesome.
Well, that's a broad paintbrush scope you made there of those attributes of what you're saying the Department of Corrections is doing. You've named the secretary, the deputy secretary of the Department of Corrections of actually being involved in perhaps maybe cover-ups of serious implications against staff that are involved in heinous acts against inmates inside the prisons. We were in the middle of exposing an investigation that's been done by myself and an attorney by the name of Robert Slama up in Jacksonville, Florida, of evidence revealing that a murder that took place with an inmate by the name of Timothy Thomas, who previously has been in the newspaper a couple times on the front page of the Miami Herald, articles referring to myself and several other legislators that have been involved over the years, trying to figure out how this happened, because early on we were capable of getting information from witnesses that were quickly dispersed to other parts of the state to an attempt to make them inaccessible. But having excellent staff available, private investigators were able to track them down and get taped statements from them. Those taped statements led us on a different investigation than what the investigators were doing. And the investigators stopped their investigation and charged another inmate with the death. Yet they never arrested him and they never formally charged him. They put him in a confinement cell in another prison and said, "You're the one that did it." And he sat there for 3.5 years without charge, without arrest, without indictment. And through our ability to track down and uncover exactly what happened, we were able to put a timeline together. We were able early on into the investigation to get documents from the Department of Corrections that they attempted to cover dates and times so that they could implicate, maybe if anybody ever found out that other officers did it when they did it. So they created a shift change for the investigators to look at. When they ran into those people, the wrench was already thrown into the investigation. It kind of stopped, but they never let the inmate out of confinement. His name is Manuel Barber. And he's currently become quite an attraction in many levels of our state attorney investigators, and they're reinvestigating this case now. They too are demanding his release from confinement. The problem with that is that the day they do that and open his cell, it automatically directs the light to all the officers now that did the killing. In our investigation, we found a boot mark that was left on the inmate's body during the torture time. They tortured him so bad that they knocked the back cavity out of his back. By the time we got to see him and photograph him, they left him in such a state of appearance that you could barely tell he was a human being. But they were charging another inmate for it that now they realize is a decoy. This is a serious implication inside the levels of our government, inside the levels of the Department of Corrections, because if he's been on confinement status for 3 years of a murder that he didn't do, then this is complicity with the higher levels of the Department of Corrections. Yes. Nobody can say that they didn't know he's been there. Nobody can say that they didn't know. We know there's things in life that there are things that are unbelievable, like you can't run a mile in 60 seconds. But they know he didn't commit this murder. You're then part of the cover-up. The legislators have called for this. So while this was going on and this was being released, the incident came out through the video of the Miami Herald of what happened at Charlotte. The interesting thing about that video is, had it not been released, we would not have known that the incident happened. But two, they also exposed that Tallahassee and Central Office and Mark Inch and Rick C. Dixon are a part of the approval process that said it's just okay to treat people like that. Well, it's not. In fact, we found some more incriminating evidence in that after it exposed that directly implicates the captain knowingly that was already set up.
All I can say is
so now the abuse is that these patterns of behavior have made their way into other facilities. Yes. The training has actually gone into abuse. We're training staff to abuse inmates. That has to be changed. Structural changes are being called for by our Florida legislators. The rally is expected to draw the attention of numerous individuals coming over that have committed themselves from around the state. We have guest speakers. We're going to have a little music. We're going to have some experiences going on. We're going to have testimony from live advocates coming in to share their experiences, and all in the name of saying we can no longer tolerate it. We can't live like this anymore.
That's right. And it is time, folks. It's time. Everybody, all the advocates, all the people on Facebook, all the people on the YouTube channels, everybody's talking about, and they're talking. It's time for action. It's time for action. Solutions need to be put in place. As Pure Prison, that's my platform. Anybody who's doing things that need a light shined on them, I love to promote it. This is fantastic. We all need to be at this rally. We need transparency.
Let me tell you one thing I'm going to talk about so it sticks out in your mind when I bring it up at the rally.
Please.
Over 10 years ago, our Florida legislators passed a law. It's under Section 944. 012 of the Florida statutes. This is a very integral statute that was designed and written for a reason. 10 years ago, they knew these problems were coming. They saw them. They wrote the legislative intent, and the statute says we can address this problem, we can resolve it, but we have to do it in a way of closing major facilities. Mm-hmm. And that was their decision back then. And that's why we're in the position we are today. They didn't follow through on what their legislative intent was. If they did, they were stopped by the mob that run in the Department of Corrections. And we're going to have to break that down and tear them down and get them out of there.
Yes. Florida Department of Corrections needs a complete overhaul. Transparency needs to be implemented at all levels.
Right.
In the internal. So things like this can be followed. There can be an easy timeline to follow. All of it should be. You guys, thank you so much for taking the time. I know, and Alexandra, did you want to say anything else? Is there something that you're going to be talking about specifically there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to let you know what she's going to be talking about. She knows how to do uncovering statistics, and she's going to talk about statistics. Go ahead, Alexandra.
I sure am.
So there.
Well, I've dedicated about a good month and a half on collecting various data from the Department of Corrections, from FDEL, from the Inspector General, and I have and the mortality table, the deaths. Let me explain. Florida is the leader of deaths in our prison. A lot of people that are dying in our prisons are not lifers. They're not on the death sentence. I've had one out of the 1,500 individuals that have died in the Department of Corrections in the past 3 years. Okay. Anyhow, the statistics, the lack of transparency, it's appalling. It's appalling. And I demand law enforcement to be way more accountable and transparent with what we have. Police can't police themselves. They have proved that over and over again. The Inspector General for the Department of Corrections is a complete joke. Okay. And the one other thing I will be speaking about is because of the lack of accountability, the deaths, the torture, this culture of whatever it is that is going on. Now there's families that are victims, falling victims to this, being told that their deaths were natural. Okay.
Or an accident.
Right? And then they get on the phone and they talk to the family and they ask the family to donate the bodies to the institution to help with the cover-ups.
Right.
This is unheard of. This is truly an American horror story. So I can imagine the 3 families now that I am in touch with that have had their loved ones murdered in the Department of Corrections, not by inmates, but indeed by officers that are still employed, that are still being paid with our taxpayer dollars. So it's like the vision I have right now, the message I'm getting from the Department of Corrections, it pretty much is, if you want to go and kill somebody and get away with it and get paid for it and be praised for it, go work for the Department of Corrections. And that, my message to our governor is not acceptable. And that needs to stop today.
Yes. So, and let me just say, as a formerly incarcerated woman in Florida, I personally know, as a resident, as an inmate, there is no transparency. It is like pulling teeth just to get our own grievances. That's when you write them, if you write them, to get that back. So imagine if it's that difficult for an inmate to get your own paperwork back. I cannot imagine how horrifying the statistics have been to pull them. To get that information. How hard was that?
Well, I'll be honest with you, looking at all those individuals, there's about a good 15 of them that were missing eyes as well. And I wonder why. There's other, like, let me explain. There's so much that we don't even know. These are, and I encourage everybody, if you want to take the time to look at every single person that has passed away, you'll realize we are not feeding them appropriately. A lot of these individuals that I have looked at, they were malnourished. They were looking like they were just beat up. I'm serious, and it's public record. It's all available to us. So, and that's the scary part. Is that
let's look at this. Let's look at the 28-month past history we have.
Okay.
In the past 28 months, the Department of Corrections has publicly recorded 158 correctional officers being arrested for various forms of crimes that they're committing inside the prisons. We hold the record in the United States of the most arrested correctional officers in the shortest period of time ever for the most outrageous criminal activity you have ever seen in your life. They have been part of every type of scheme and scam you could think of. But the thing is that the people that they're arresting are all the new ones that they keep hiring. So they've got this new cycle that they're doing. They give you $1,000 to come to work for them. Come on in, you get it immediately. Within maybe 12 months, you may be in jail. They're going to have you taught just how to bring drugs in and hope that you get caught. And that's the cycle that we're exposing this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was actually on Society First, we just posted something. Of course, it was out of state in Rikers Island of the guards that have been exposed for bringing the blades in, the razor blades, the multitude of things. We actually just posted that on our site. The Mr. Hernandez, who the welcoming committee just got to at the institution last week.
Right. Well, let me tell you about that. Let's talk about him for a second. It's real important to that investigation. They said that they received him like that because he was a serious threat to the police at another institution.
Yes.
Well, 90 days later, he's in open population right now at another institution. He was never arrested. He's never been charged anything for that alleged serious thing that he was involved in. If he was, he would have been arrested and on CM for over a year, close management.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because it was an assault, supposed assault on an officer.
Exactly.
Now, we know what that does. I know.
Right.
I know you're going right to CM and you're not getting off. And your levels of getting off CM could take years.
Right.
One mistake and you're still stuck there another year.
That's correct.
This is important, folks. Check it out. It is all over Pure Prison Forum, Society First. It's on YouTube. It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram. Everybody, I am imploring you, if you have a loved one, if you've had a loved one, if you are an ex-incarcerated person in the state of Florida, you should be at this rally on the 3rd from 2 to 5. It is important. I've had enough. This is archaic. This is insane what goes on in the United States of America in this day and age. And it needs to stop. And I am with you, Alexandra. I call for it. I demand it. I couldn't do it while I was in, but I sure can now. And it's time. It's time we stand together. Thank you so much. And again, I'm definitely going to have both of you each on. I want to talk to you, Alexandria, about your foundation and what you founded. Keith, you are incredible. I keep hearing your name. I can't wait to meet you, doing incredible things. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Anything more that you want to say before we close this up?
Thank you. And just know this, that we may be in one of the most horrific times ever in our state prisons. I cry sometimes from reading these stories and these affidavits. They are heartbreaking. But to see it live in a video, if that's not enough for anybody, everybody, whether you want people to be in prison or not,
right,
you still can't treat them like this.
That's right. That's right. They are still people. They are still humans.
Yeah.
And they are still a part of this United States of America. And don't forget that. They still have rights. I'm going to say we, because I am them. We still have rights. And we, as their families and loved ones, need to make sure that those rights are given to them. And there are many of them. Think of how many people are incarcerated right now. There are millions in the United States. So that means there are millions and millions of family members. We need to start coming together, guys.
Thank you.
All right. You guys, thank you so much for being on. I will be there. I can't wait to see both of you there.
Great. See you then.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Bye, guys. So, folks, again, this was Pure Prison. I do implore you, if you have been an incarcerated inmate in the state of Florida, if you have a loved one, be there. Be there. It's a drive. It's a little bit of your time. Standing up and letting our state representatives know, showing them that we are there. We are peaceful, but we are in mass numbers, and we are coming to make sure that you are accountable for what you do, just like you want to make sure that we, as people that are going into prison, are accountable for what we do. It goes both ways, guys. Thank you for joining me. And again, I hope to see everybody on the 3rd.